Hello and welcome to Tony's Bonsai. Over the last 12 months we've had lots of bonsai challenges. They're great fun, and today I want to put one out there and challenge all the bonsai creators to have a go at this. And my challenge is the Literati challenge, or bunging, whatever you want to call it. And it's basically to start off some interesting Literati style bonsai using whatever material you can get your hands on. I'm going to create 3 Literati trees today. I've got a hawthorn here to work on. I've got a second hawthorn. And I've also got one that I think will be really challenging. It's a field maple. In my life, I've never been a fan of being told what to do or following rules. So in this challenge, there are no rules apart from have fun. I'm going to start with this hawthorn, and I've got quite a few low down branches here, and I'm going to remove them and just go for it. Under normal circumstances, these branches like this, they'd be quite handy things to have to start growing structure and whatever, but when you're creating Literati, I just want the bare trunk. Because there are no rules, you can feel free to express your creativity in any way that you want to. For this first one, I'm really going to try and add some very radical movement into that. They're the kind of trees that I really like this style, mate. I always have, ever since I started watching videos on YouTube about bonsai. You know, I've seen these sort of interesting shapes, and it's just something that's always appealed. And in order that I don't snap this, it's fairly flexible, but once you do start really going for it, a bit of that tape won't do any harm. This is fairly flexible, and I don't need anything too heavy. Most of the heavy bending will be happening up at the top. I won't be doing too much down here, I don't think. So I'm using a piece of recycled wire. And just while I'm doing this, you know, for people who've never tried this kind of technique, it's great fun, you know, adding the wire, creating the movement, and you can just do it with anything. You know, whatever you've got lying around, or whatever you can find in your local nursery or supermarket, or if you've got any little bits of seedlings that you can pull up from your garden. There we go, that's one coil done. Even though I am quite confident in the holding power of that first piece, I've not quite gone high enough with it. It was a little short, so I've decided to add a second piece of wire. And what this will do as well is it'll really support that bark and just allow me the confidence to go that bit further with the bends. So down here where the trunk's thicker, obviously I'll have a double coil of wire, and then it should just allow me to put a bit of movement up in this top section as well. So up I go. I have no idea how high I'll actually end up wanting to go with this. I'm going past the vet tape here, so I think that should be enough there. Now for the fun part. What do I go for in terms of the styling of this? I've got this natural turn here, so I don't need to do anything with that. I like that movement, but I think I'd like it to come back upwards a bit more vertically. So at that point there, I'll just take it back on itself there. That's nice. So I've got it there, up, and if I could even take it a little further back, that's great. So it's, this piece is now sort of parallel with that piece. And up at this section, ideally, I'd like it to now really bend down. And for this twist, for this bend, I'm going to use the twist. So to help stop me split the wood, I'll twist with the wire. So it's coming there and round. There, so I've got that twist back. The twist round like that. And then from here, now, I want this to come back up. See, I was twisting the wrong way with that then. I'm always doing that. Always messing the twist up. So it kind of works though, because this is the most severe bend and this one is going with the wire, which is great. There. So we've got some really nice movement there. I'm liking that. So that's going back up like that. If I can just take that down like that there. I do like that when it dips. I like it to come up and then actually back down on itself. Like that, there. Now we're getting something. And now, as we come back round there, let me have a look at that from the camera side. Yeah, we're beginning to get that nice, interesting, literati kind of interesting shape. And it looks good from this side as well. We've got, it's not just flat because of the twisting. And in fact, I wonder if I can... That was the part. By taking that there, that's just adding a bit more movement there, which is nice. And then once I get to this level, I've got a lovely branch here. That could potentially be the new leader of the tree. Or I've got other branches up at the top, and perhaps these could eventually be the new top. So I like that. That's good. It's got a nice flow to it. It's really three-dimensional. The only thing is I do want these leaves pointing upwards. At the moment, they're not pointing up anymore. So I just need to put a piece of wire on that. This end section now isn't going to be in the final design of the tree. This is just all about maintaining the health of the tree by getting these branches like that pointing upwards there. So there we go. There. I'm really happy with this branch, and this one here could well be the top of the tree. I've got choices, but I've got some decent movement into that. I quite like it. We've got this change of direction from quite low down, and I've got some fairly tight turns, which is important. I didn't want it. Literatis are no good if they're just wavy. You know, they do need some changes in direction to give them that kind of interest. Oh, so that's the first one done. Next up, I've got a tree that's quite challenging for bonsai. Certainly for literati anyway. and it's a field maple. They're brittle, like Japanese maples. They've got brittle trunks, but when they're young like this, you can get some movement into them. And, you know, maybe I can get a Literati out of something like this. How interesting would that be? First thing I need to give this a really good looking at and work out what my options are. I've got a low branch here. This could be a new leader. It's quite thin compared to the main trunk, but it's an option. But it's too thin for me. Therefore, I see the new leader as one of these two. So I've got two options here. Well, I do have an option here as well. But again, that's very thin. These ones naturally have got better taper and they've got a nice change of movement. So bearing in mind the trunk below here, we've got some nice sweeping movement off to one side. It's quite straight. I could add some movement to that using very thick wire, but I don't think I will. I think I'll have a straight section because I've then got a change of direction, and I quite like this idea of this sweeping curve that way. I think I will wire that, get some movement into that, and then have this branch coming off as the new leader. Yeah, I like that. This little one on the front's never going to be part of the design. And neither's this one here. So that can go. But what I will do is I'll leave this one for the time being as a safety net in case I snap these, which is always possible. If I snap them, I can always cut back and come back down. So I'll leave this in reserve. At the bonsai club I go to, we did some work last month and I got some wire this thick out. This is real battered old stuff. And they nearly had a heart attack. They were like, what are you using that for? It's too thick. But I love using thick wire. I just can't stand messing about trying to bend a tree with wire that won't hold. And with aluminium wire, often a third of the thickness isn't enough. It might be with copper, but with aluminium, often you need more, like, I find you need sort of half the thickness of what you're bending, especially when you're working with a really stiff, brittle wood like maple, you know, or hawthorn or beech or something like that. You know, you just don't get away with thin wire. It's a bit more hassle to put on, but really, for that extra bit of effort, what it means is you can really get that bend in place. And it's the reason that I like to, I use a tail. I don't stick it in the soil. That just won't hold in the soil, that. You know, you need a length to sort of use your thumb and get some leverage on. So that's nice. Right, it goes this way. And I said, initially I wanted to increase that curve and take it across, and then this one can come back. I'm not sure about that now, thinking about it. It goes across, up. I'm wondering if it should come back. No, I'll go with my initial thinking. And my initial thinking was take it across like that. And I just want to add just that bit of movement into this section so it's not dead straight. That's done it. I don't want to go mad on this. If I try cranking on that anymore, I'm going to snap it. So I'll only go one more. There, that's enough. So I've got that movement in now, which is good. I'm just wondering if I can take this piece of aluminium up like that and just get a bend just up at the top here, like that. That's better. That's better. So I've still got this movement, but now it's coming back naturally, and I can use some wire on this to add some interest. This is all wired up now, and I've kind of decided on a design. I'm getting rid of that branch there because I'm confident I'm not going to snap this. Boom! There we go. So what I'm thinking is, I'm liking this up here. This, I want this to come away like that. And then I'd like this branch to work its way back in this direction. So ideally, I'd like to, if possible, get a fairly, you're always playing with fire with a maple. Oh, that feels dangerous. That feels dangerous. But I've got it. I've got some nice curve coming back. That's good. And then hopefully then I can just take this back round and up like that. Right, how does that look? Let me have a look at that behind the camera. Well, I like it. I like that. It's got that sort of something going on. I would love it if I could get a bit more movement in that though, just because that's a little bit of a straight section. And by going there, it's really exaggerated that turn downwards, which is good. My only thing with this is, here, it's a bit of a, like a sine wave. I find it a bit sinusoidal, there's a good word for you. So I'd like it if I could increase a couple of the angles to take it away from the smoothness. And it's always dangerous and dodgy, but you know, by coming around like that and then up, let's have a look at that. Yes, yeah, that feels a lot more realistic and sort of organic as opposed to like that man-made feel that I don't like. There we go. That's nice. I'll just make sure that this that I did is up there. Nice. Well, I'm tempted not to do any more to that. I don't want to risk killing it. And obviously when I take that wire off, I expect the tree to come back to a certain extent. But I think I've got something going on there with that. Nice. What I have noticed as I rotate this round, it's very flat. So I would like to take it off that sort of flatness, and the way I'll do it is by taking that across in that direction. I think that works quite well actually. Yeah, it just stops it being so linear. If you imagine it without all this stuff, then that's quite an interesting tree. Now for this tree, which superficially looks quite interesting, However, it's got a major problem. It's got some large inverse taper in this section due to wiring and wire marks. I left the wire on too long, it bit in and it's caused a swelling. And this here is significantly thicker than there. So that'd really take some catching up. And I don't know if it ever will. Therefore, I'm going to take the fairly radical step and I'm just going to remove this. It's nice. This is wired up with a single piece of wire, and I think this is a naturally good place to come back down. I see this as a really small tree eventually, possibly like a Shito, even smaller than a Mame, and that's good. That's got it going down, which is quite interesting, I think, there. And then obviously it needs to come back up. So I'll put my thumb there, twist and bend. So that's coming up quite a sharp angle, which I like. And then from here, I like the idea of it twisting around like that. So it's sort of up, down there. Maybe if this was a little more vertical, like that, that's interesting. Let me have a look behind the camera, see how it's going. Well, it's, yeah, it's certainly interesting. I like that. And then what up here? Down, back. Perhaps this is just the point to take the tree vertical and let it recover. A little dab of the old cut paste on there. Obviously I see the top taken off, maybe here, but all this won't be involved, but it needs to be allowed to grow now. But imagine that in a couple of years in a nice little small bonsai pot. That could be lovely. I'm not bothering with the nomination things. I'm just saying to anyone with a bonsai YouTube channel, have a go at the Literati challenge. Use hashtag Literati challenge, and I look forward to seeing your work. As always, thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.